Uh, nakikita na ba? Ayun. So, maganda yung pagkaka-explain niya. So, meron na?
Yes.
Ayun, audio. Okay. So, yung nangyari sa bansa natin, very similar sa nangyari dito sa Thailand. So, I'll just play this.
Thanks, Ben.
Ay, di pala kita yung video ko. Oh, what happened? Nagloko yata. What?
Yeah, parang di ko nag-replay.
So,
Ayun.
when I was in Chiang Mai about a year ago, the jewel of the north of Thailand, I attended this fair that claimed to promote all facets of northern Thai culture. And it was a great fair. And being the language learning lover that I am, I felt a deep urge to study the Lanna language of the northern Thai people, or the indigenous language of that area. So I was immediately drawn to the mounds and stacks of books at the fair, and I perused through them trying to find some sort of instructional guide or some sort of manual to teach me the basics of the language. Things like the unique writing system, the tones, the pronunciation, grammar, phrases, just really basic stuff. I know this sounds a bit geeky, but I soon found out that this search was a fruitless effort. And this is because I later came to find out as well that there exists no quality and highly accessible resources on the study of this Northern Thai language. And so I went to ask the vendors and the merchants who were selling these books, oh, where can I find something like this? And they even did not know. They responded really cluelessly to my inquiry. And so after this, I just saw red. I thought to myself, how can an entire culture just throw away their language like that? How could they throw away their whole culture and history like that? But the answer to this is actually rather simple if you examine geopolitical developments within Thailand in the 19th and 20th centuries. So the nation state was a form of governance that arose rather recently, and it's attributable to many things, things like the development of capitalism, mercantilism, political economy, and territorial geography. And one of the most obvious impacts of this form of governance is that the central government mandates a uniform cultural identity through instruments like state policy. They advocate for things like a common ancestry, common heritage, and crucially, a common language. Now, when a vast nation with nuanced cultural differences is forced to speak a single language, a phenomenon known as linguistic imperialism arises, and it's a form of imperialism that is within a country's own borders. Now, if we view this issue from a sociolinguistic perspective, it becomes apparent that this phenomenon is akin to the Darwinist theory of natural selection. And I apologize for any oversimplifications, but allow me to put it this way. We can view the centrally mandated dominant language as a species with highly favorable traits and adaptations because it gives people higher socioeconomic standing, for example. It gives people access to greater jobs. It allows for greater class, prestige, and possibly even political power. All the while, non-standard indigenous dialects are left to fester. And speakers of these languages are not able to pass the backbone of their culture onto offspring. Therefore, the younger generation are barred from getting knowledge that was accumulated over generations and generations. Now, the Thai story follows this system, this model, word for word, and the origins of a nationalist central government can actually be traced back to the reign of His Majesty the King Rama V, who established the Monton system, or the regional system, which was a means of administering the country during the period of rampant French and British colonialism in Southeast Asia. Power radiated from the central authority towards the most far-flung regions of the nation. And while this was an extremely effective and necessary measure that shielded the country and protected its independence, one of the main impacts of this was that it set the stage for the decline of culture and languages in all of the country's three principal regions, the North, the Northeast, and the South. The Central Thai dialect, which we're all familiar with today, was designated as the lingua franca of this new nation. So, in the north, local lords and kings lost their power, resulting in the decline of the Lanna language and their culture in the north. In the northeast, the various dialects of the Isan language spoken, was written at the Lao alphabet. It was written with the Laotian alphabet at the time. This alphabet was banned and replaced with the Central Thai alphabet in order to forge a more close connection with the dominant culture. And in the deep south, where citizens are predominantly Muslim, their culture was discouraged as well. As Central Thai spheres and Muslim spheres diverged, what happened was the Arabic script that was used to write many, many languages of the Malay people of the south was also discouraged and replaced with Central Thai as a language of instruction. Now, a phenomenon like this raises vast socioeconomic implications because when you rob a community of their language, you're robbing them of their self-worth, pride, identity, culture, history. And as a result of this, it impedes political power. It creates a sense of dependency on the main dominant culture. And in addition to this, it creates this system of negative association. And what I mean by this is, for example, in Thailand, urbanites and urban dwellers may, for example, view speakers of many non-standard dialects, such as the Isan dialect of the Northeast. They may associate these people with the working class, uneducated, bumpkins, people with no education, which is an unfortunate perception, but it is true in some cases. Today, if you travel up north, you'll find that the use of the Lanna language in professional settings is essentially defunct, and that it's used and reserved for specific religious institutions or in familial or home settings. And while studies by local universities in the region have in fact found out that these languages are favorably looked upon by inhabitants, and people like to see it incorporated into their curricula. They want to know how to read and write and speak as well as their ancestors did. The sheer impracticality of having this as a language has prevented such reform from happening. Similarly, if we look at the Deep South, UNESCO just recently designated the Patani dialect of the Malay language as vulnerable and at risk of endangerment. This is once again due to the overwhelming influence of the dominant Central Thai culture. The United Nations once stated that in regards to language, language is intrinsically linked to and a part of indigenous peoples, cultures, and beliefs. It marks their distinctiveness and cohesiveness as ethnic groups. For example, without language, would you, Akshara, be able to connect with your Tamil culture and ancestry? You, Akshara, are able to enjoy the dances, songs, religion, and arts of your ancestry because you know your native language. Now, what change can we implement? Well, this is where we all come in. Even though linguistic imperialism, as I have put it, is a rampant issue in Thailand, it is far from an isolated phenomenon. And I trust that in all of your respective countries, this phenomenon is occurring as well. And I also trust that in all of your respective countries, all vulnerable communities have something inherently worth preserving, whether it be lore, mythology, dance, culture, history, all of that. Take, for example, the Kalawaya people of Bolivia, who have a language intrinsically linked to medicinal plants of the rainforest, and some of this knowledge is not even known to Western science, or the Sora language of some tribes living in the Orissa state of India, and the morphological properties of which are so valuable to the studies of linguistics. A national social survey carried out in the northern part of Australia in the Torres Strait region also discovered that Aboriginal citizens who speak indigenous languages are in markedly better physical and mental health. They are less likely to be arrested by the police on charges for drug abuse or alcohol. And those between the ages of 13 and 17 in rural and urban areas are in fact more likely to be found in schools. Now, what can we do as individuals? You may be asking yourself, how can I as an individual save an entire culture or save an entire language for that matter? Now, I'm not asking for anyone to implement drastic social change or political reform, but I think the first thing that we have to consider is recognize this plurality of languages in your nation. Question whether one single language in a vastly diverse country is in fact the best solution. I'm not advocating for any political agenda or some globalist dogma, but I'm looking at this from a political perspective, because if you give a person their heritage back, their culture back, and their history back, you are arming them with the necessary means to be empowered and be active members of their communities. And if you have the chance, interact with people from these minority indigenous groups. There may be more around you than you think. And I previously stated that learning languages may be difficult due to the really few resources available, but there's vast new amounts of research being put forth that will allow for this to happen soon. So learn a few words, learn a few phrases, learn a bit of grammar. And the more linguistically conscious you become, the longer these languages will survive, and they won't be victims of linguistic imperialism. As a member of the Navajo Nation once said, every breath that you take without a language that is your own, you might as well be dead already. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Medyo kinilabutan ako doon. Okay, so yun nga yung lecture ng isa sa mga teachers from Patana. I don't know where that is, but somewhere here in Thailand, of course. Let me just show my screen. Okay. Ayan. Teka, ba't ako nag-share? Nakalimutan ko. Ayun. Bali, what I'm trying to do is give context to what he's saying. Okay, so ito yung Thailand. So right now, nandito ako sa area na to, sa gitna. Maraming dagat. So yung mga sinasabi niya, yung northern Thailand, dito siya banda. So ito ay yung bumo-border sa Myanmar. So yung merong gera ngayon, and then yung sinasabi niyang Isan, yung Lao. So maraming mga probinsyano na malapit sa Lao. Most of them are actually from Lao na nag-migrate sa Thailand at nakailang generation niya. Pag pupunta ako doon for a visa run, I noticed that their letters are very similar. Yeah, but, I'm not sure if it is pronounced the same, but historically daw, they're using the same language. Tapos here, near sa saan ako nakatira is Cambodia. And most of the projects here, mga building, roads, are created by Cambodians. And then sa south, yung binabanggit kanina, yung Muslim. Here, sa part na to, I don't know what year, but several decades ago, nilusob ng Thailand itong area na to at naging part siya ng Thailand, which is historically Malaysia. And sa Malaysia, as we all know, they are speaking Arabic, so Muslim language. So when the central government here in Bangkok became active, doon na nagsimula yung imperialism ng language. Pre-note na yung Thai, ano ba yun? Pasa Thai. So here, language is Pasa. Tapos Thai, Pasa Thai. Pag English, Pasa Angkrit. So, ganun. Sa in-explain nung ating speaker kanina, yung original nilang culture, hindi niya makita nung nagpunta siya sa Chiang Rai or Chiang Mai. So, somewhere in the north. Ito. So, here in this green area. Now, when he was looking for references or books, sabi niya wala siyang makitang matinong encyclopedia or libro para lang ma-reference yung mga culture ng mga nakarang taon. Hindi na niya makita, hindi na niya ma-research. So, anong kinalaman nung kanyang mga sinabi sa imperialism? Well, Similarly, nung dito sa Pinas, di ba yung flag natin, merong 8 stars. Those 8 stars represent the 8, ang tawag doon, mga 8 lalawigan na lumaban sa mga Espanyol. Tama ba? Nakalimutan ko na ang itsura ng flag ng Pilipinas. Dapat ba ako matawag na Pinoy? Nakahiya. Okay. So, ayan, yung flag ng Pinas. So, meron siyang 8 sinag ng araw. Ito yung 8 lalawigan. And after, quote-unquote, nanalo yung mga Tagalog, ginawa ng mandatory na pag-aralan ng ibang area sa Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, pag-aaralan ay Tagalog. So, ayun, yung parang language imperialism, parang paano yung lengguwahe ng taong yun? Paano yung sarili niyang culture? Similarly sa Thailand, di ba, here, asan ba yun? Here near sa Malaysia, where they speak the Muslim language, which is Arabian, or what is that language? I don't know. Anyway, so Muslim language from Arabia. That's it. I forgot. So, similarly, sa area na yun na nagsasalita sila ng Muslim, dito rin sa Mindanao, nagsasalita sila ng Muslim. Pero dahil nga nung nangyari sa Philippine Revolution, naging mandatory na yung pag-aaral ng Tagalog. Tapos, yun pa, pag ikaw nagtatagalog, tapos nagpupunta ka sa ibang probinsya ng Pilipinas, you are looked upon as educated or more, ano ba tawag doon? Mas may pera, mas nakakaangat, mas, in short, mas. Lahat, mas. So, nung bumisita ako sa aking mga pinsan, taga Pangasinan kasi yung nanay ko. So, pagdating ko ron na parang manghang-mangha sila kasi nagtatagalog ako. They think na I have everything, na marami akong pera, ganyan. Pag ako nag-apply, pasok agad. Kasi sila pag nag-apply, isa sa mga requirements is marunong magtagalog. Tapos at least high school or first year, ano yun? Yung 2-year course sa kolehiyo. So isa yun sa mga nila requirements na for me, it's easy, pero sa kanila pala medyo nahihirapan sila. So ayun yung linguistic imperialism sa version natin. So doon naman tayo sa Kano. So sa English. So parang yung sinabi ni Miss Ria dati, yung world Englishes, parang kumalat ng kumalat yung English natin hanggang sa nag-ano na siya, parang nag-morph na into our own consciousness. Meron tayong Filipino English, tapos merong Thai English, merong Konglish na acceptable naman siya. Ang masama lang doon, parang naiiwan yung pag sinabing meron pa yung native English speaker. So, parang how do we call it? Parang unless you are a native English speaker, parang ganun ka pa rin, nandito ka pa rin sa mas mababa. So, ayun. Meron pang isa ritong video, but it's a little bit longer. Sa tingin ko, you guys can watch it on your own, but it's a lot more informative. Okay, kasi yung isa sa mga dalawa sa guest nila ay hanapin ko lang. Okay. Dalawa yung guest nila, yung isa yung writer. So, one of them is Professor Dr. Robert Phillipson at yung isa naman ay writer. Okay, si Robert McCrum. Okay, so ito yung link, mamaya ipasa ko. Maganda yung sa kanila nung interview. Yung isa kasi, he is a journalist. He is traveling from one country to another. Yung isa naman, professor na nag-aral ng pinanggalingan ng English. So, that's it. So, what about you guys? What do you guys think about that? Yung video kanina, si Miss Micah muna kasi busy yata si Miss Ria. So, ayan.
Well, coming from Manila, wala ako masyadong experience with a certain language that I have. Wala akong dialect, or I don't know any other language from the Philippines. So medyo mahirap to relate to it. Although I do understand it. Yeah, yung sinasabi mo na, I think, pag meron kang dialect and then people are gonna think less of you, I think hindi ko masabi in a way na kasi ito yung language na ginamit. Kung hindi, pag meron pang remnants ng language na yon and then they try to speak Tagalog, for example. So, for example, meron akong classmates sa school before. Tapos, meron siyang accent na probably Bisaya or Kapampangan. Usually, nadja-judge siya as hindi masyadong not really educated, pero hindi masyadong classy, I guess. So, what I experienced, nakikita ko ito sa mga kaklase ko nung elementary and high school na mahalata mo talaga from where they're from. Pero nung nasa college na ako, I feel like social pressures are higher. So, yung mga kaklase ko, even though they're from different parts of the country, hindi mo mahahalata yung accent nila. So I feel like that's something they really worked on para hindi sila ma-judge ng ibang tao when they speak Tagalog or English. Na parang they really tried their hardest to hide their accents. So yeah, yun yung na-observe ko from my personal experience.
Ayun na si Miss Ria. Hi, Miss Ria.
Oh, sorry,
Ayun,
busy day.
Kaya nga eh. Kaya pala dati sabi mo may klase ka.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Yun yung sinasabi
So-
kong pinahirapan ko yung sarili ko ulit. Pero I was able to answer some of the questions dun sa exam dahil nag-attend ako ng class. Buti na lang.
Wow, that's
The exam was
good.
that hard talaga. It was
Wait.
talagang-
Mas marami yung nakuha dun sa klase nyo doon o dito sa review?
kasi
I'm curious
I
now.
guess because of the questions na like tinarget yung pinag-aaralan ko doon. Kasi sobrang comprehensive ng exam. You wouldn't think na yun yung ibibigay nila. Parang I was really so shocked kasi parang sa isip ko, really, this is what you want us to answer for 4 hours? Kaya pala 4 hours siya. At first I couldn't
Oh my
believe na
God.
4 hours.
Oh.
Hindi ko yata kaya mag-type ng 4 hours. Kaya, you know, parang ako kasi, pag pag nagtitake ako ng exam, kung ano yung alam ko, lalagay ko, pero wala akong patience na mag-spend pa ng time na mag-iisip pa ako. So, I really, parang I finished it in 2 hours, 30 minutes, parang ganon. Kasi ayoko na eh. I was so tired. So drained. Sabi ko, the hardest exam I've ever taken. So parang, grabe talaga yon. So, you really should prepare. Hindi ko kayo tinatakot, pero ayokong mapunta rin kayo dun sa position ko na parang, really, tatanungin nila yung ganitong ka-specific. Parang, kung i-evaluate ko yung exam, parang valid ba to? Parang reliable ba to? Kasi parang, grabe naman kayo. Sana yung application na lang. Pero pagpapadefine pa sila, imagine. You have to define and then give implications. Tapos i-apply pa. Gosh, talaga. Sobrang, parang, sa isip ko, shit, talaga nagmumura ako kasi parang paano ko i-access to? Hindi ko na matandaan talaga yung mga terms.
Parang
Kaya
ano ba itong pinasok ko?
Totoo.
Ano ba
Some of the questions I bluffed talaga. Sana makalusot siya. Pero alam mo yun, parang sige na, try ko, baka tumama to. So, gano'n na lang yung mindset ko. And I just wanted it to be over. Sabi ko, bahala na kung papasa ako or ano. Kasi one of those exams na sobrang tiring siya. Kasi, yun nga, nakaka-drain kasi it asks so much from you. So, ayun. I don't know if I'll pass. I hope I will. Pero, yun. Yung preparation natin, nakatulong siya. Kasi nga yung discussion natin, Pero ang na-realize ko, pati yung specific, ganun sila. Yung mismong term you have to define. Oh my gosh, parang as students ng postgrad na, hindi ko akalain na ganun pa rin yung test construction. So that was really very surprising.
I see.
Anyway, yun, at least you know na medyo, ano siya talaga,
Tough exam.
difficult exam. Yung going back to sa pinag-uusapan, this is, the topic is, linguistic imperialism.
Yeah.
Tama ba? Oo. So,
Yes.
ito yung mga pinag-uusapan namin sa course. It's about yung how language is used in society, kasi yun naman talaga yung social linguistics. So, one thing na that stuck with me is yung idea ng coloniality. I don't know if you've ever come across that term. Ngayon ko lang din siya na-encounter. Pero, ang sabi sa coloniality, kahit na tapos na yung colonizers na magsumakop sa atin at umalis na sila, there are still ideologies,
naiwan.
structures in society na iniwan na nila, most especially language, that perpetuates the structures na iniwan nila. Take for example yung mga Western canons, like for example yung mga readings na ina-assign sa atin sa college or sa high school, mga mini-mention natin na books. Pansinin nyo kung may include ba na Asian writers, African writers. So hardly any representation coming from Asia or from Africa. Pero sa pagdating sa puro British writers, American writers, European writers. So ano pa lang 'yun sa mga literary works pa lang na pinababasa natin. Even the textbooks na ginagamit natin are geared towards Western ideologies.
Yeah.
Na when you come to think of it, parang ang hirap ko mawala kasi yung mismong structure in education perpetuates the beliefs ng pang-Western. Parang ang hirap pasukan ng pang-local cultures kasi yung mismong pagkakagawa ng materials nandun ang hirap siyang i-challenge kasi unless pabaguhin mo lahat yun, susulat ka lahat ng mga bago. Kasi ang sabi nila, pagtuturo sa atin ng grammar or ng language is usually prescriptive. Ang tawag nila ay one direction only, hindi siya bi-directional. Ibig sabihin, tayo tagatanggap lang ng
Information.
mga rules, yung grammar na sinasabi nilang dapat ganito. Pero wala tayong power para ibalik din sa kanila na kami din, we have something to contribute to the language. Kasi we bring to the language our own culture. So yung ganong mga usapan, yun yung dapat nating, at least according to my professors, I don't know if you would agree, na as teachers, yun yung mga dapat nating i-challenge na how do we teach our students na ma-acknowledge pa natin yung culture nila, pero at the same time, matututo sila ng English. So, kaya may mga movements ngayon na ina-allow na yung gamitin ng bata yung local languages niya. Up to a certain extent lang, of course, para hindi pa rin mag-suffer yung competence nila sa English. Pero may mga ganong researches na nakakatulong yung paggamit ng bata ng local language niya into understanding or trying to acquire English. Ang tawag nila doon ay linguistic repertoire. Ano ba ako? Filipino speaker ako and also an English speaker. So, pag tinignan doon natin yung tao, hindi yung dalawa yung repertoire niya. Hindi magkahiwalay yung pang Filipino. Hindi magkahiwalay yung pang English. So, ginagamit mo parehas yung knowledge mo sa Filipino, knowledge mo sa English, or kung ano mang language meron ka sa further studying or acquiring English proficiency. So, hindi natin dapat dinidiscount yun in the first place. Hindi tayo dapat nagpe-penalize ng bata kung nagtatagalog siya or bibisaya siya sa classroom. Accepted yun na kasama yun sa acquisition ng language. Tapos pangalawa, there has been studies na kapag nag-allow ng local language sa classroom, naglo-lower yung affective filter. I don't know if you still remember na hindi na ano yung bata, hindi na siya matatakot magkamali. Kasi pinayagan mo mag-express ng sarili. Kasi ano ba talaga yung target mo? Maintindihan nila yung language o maintindihan nila yung concept or ma-practice yung language. So, depende pa rin sa context. Kailan mo sila pwedeng payagang gumamit ng local language. So, may mga ganong pagbabalanse as a language teacher, an English teacher. Especially if you're teaching in, tawag nila doon, outer countries. Kasi yung mga, sabi nung isang, what do you call this one? Linguist na si Kachru. Sabi niya, 3 circles na yung English. Yung nasa inner circle, ito yung mga ginagaya natin o nagbibigay ng models of English standard, like USA, New Zealand, Australia, syempre UK. So sila they have the power over all the other countries. Tayo nasa outer countries lang eh. Tayo yung tagatanggap. Tayo yung mga non-native. Tayo yung nag-strive for their standards. Tapos meron pang I forgot the circle, external circle ba to? Yung mga nasa Africa, yung mga hindi sila ganang gumagamit ng English. So ang ibig sabihin, tayo mga nasa outer countries, hindi natin kailangan mag-strive for that native-like proficiency kasi it can never happen. We are not natives. So, as teachers, yung kailangan din natin pahalagahan yung kultura ng mga estudyante natin. Huwag nating
Ayun.
alisin. Oo.
Ayun.
Tapos yung...
I remember that.
Oo, yun nga, pag magbibigay ka ng mga reading materials, kung po pwedeng samahan ng mga local stories. Kasi ako actually, napahiya ako doon kasi yun yung practice ko eh. I used to teach English Lit sa third year high school students. Tapos talagang lahat kami fan na mga Jane Austen, nanonood kami ng mga plays, pinapapanood sila ng mga movies yung mga plays ni Shakespeare na minodernize, yung mga ganyan, nagpa-fangirling kami sa mga yung mga ganun ba, yung dumaan kami sa face na gano'n na talagang sobrang into English literature kami kasi yun yung topic namin. Ako naman sobrang proud ako kasi nabasa ko yung mga literary canons. Tapos nung na-realize ko, nung i-assign na sa akin yung Asian Lit, I think second year high school dati ang Asian Lit, ayoko siyang kuhanin kasi ang hirap basahin ng, if you've ever tried reading stories written by Asian authors, iba yung construction, iba yung paggamit nila ng language, parang ka talaga, maninibago ka. Tapos, looking back, na-realize ko na ako mismo, hindi ako fair sa pagtingin dun sa mga mismong stories ng ating mismong Asian na, pero ako dinidisregard ko yung mga Filipino authors, hindi ko pinapansin. So, dati nag-assign sa amin yung professor ko, I remember in our African literature class, meron isang author na dapat may book review ako. Talagang inis na inis ako kasi yung mga pangalan hindi ko maintindihan. Tapos may mga expressions sila. Siyempre, paggamit mo ng language, depende doon sa culture mo, di ba? May mga expressions sila na hindi ko maintindihan na parang, siguro, sa atin, dito sa Pilipinas, yung mga tengang kawali, siguro mga ganon. Meron din silang ganon na hindi ko magets kasi I'm so used to the standards nga na meron yung English authors. Na looking back ngayon, sabi ko, oo nga no, kung talagang i-reframe mo yung isip mo at tingnan mo to sa ibang lens, oo nga, no? Na-condition talaga tayo na ito yung okay, ito yung maganda. Kaya, paano naman yung sa atin? Paano naman yung sa gawa ng mga Pilipino? Na feeling ko, doon nanggagaling din yung colonial mentality natin na hindi tayo makaalis doon kasi nga yung mismong language, inaalipin tayo eh. So, yun. Parang sobrang, so liberating pag nung nag-join ako nung seed course kasi maraming mga issues sa society can be explained by this way of looking at it na hindi tayo makaalis-alis sa
Yung
kung
root
nasan tayo
cause.
kasi inaalipin talaga tayo ng mga structures na iniwan nila kahit wala na sila. Imagine, ganun sila kagaling. Lalo yung mga Amerikano kasi benevolent assimilation, sabi nila, 'di ba? Tuturuan tayo para makatayo sa sarili. They put up public schools, pero yun palang ginagawa nila para ma-brainwash tayo lahat. So, ang ganda siyang tingnan dun sa lens na yun na lalo sa ating mga teachers kasi we can do a lot para yun. Lalo kung nagtuturo siguro kayo sa Pilipinas, you can do so much more. Pero dyan sa inyo, I guess, sa'yo dyan, I don't know kung paano kasi computer, no? So, I don't know
Very
how.
similar din.
Oo, how it can be applied. Pero ang galing, if you offer nila ulit yun, and if you have the time, I guess, pwede nyo i-grab the opportunity.
Anong tawag? Miss Rhea? CEED?
SEED? Social Linguistics Education. In Education, parang ganon.
Is it parang elective or di ko kasi alam?
Ano siya? Not diploma course. A certificate course siya.
Certificate course.
Oo. So, body spread out siya in naka 2 months na kami. Pero meron pa kaming 2 weeks yata. But the requirements are really,
Nakakamatay.
Very challenging. Parang pang siya. Yung sa mga hindi nagtatrabaho. Parang pang ganun. Imagine our final requirement is to present an issue and its implication in the classroom. Dapat meron kang 20 minutes, magsasalita ka lang ng
Oh my God.
Hindi ko rin alam kung paano ko gagawin.
Pero kasi, si Ruani, parang napansin ko kasi pag galing sa kanya, very informative talaga. Parang nung sumama ako sa webinar niya, ang dami kong nalaman. So, if ever na i-offer ulit nila.
Brilliant. Sobra.
If ever baka sakaling sumama ako.
Ang talino, grabe, sobra.
Magkano daw yun, Miss Rhea?
2,000 pesos. And I applied for a subsidy. Nag-apply pa ako ng subsidy.
May subsidy pa yung 2K.
Oo, so I only paid 1,000 kasi pipili sila nung if you're a teacher or in admin position, pwede ka mapili for a subsidy. Parang hihingi lang sila ng write-up or something. Sabi ko, sige nga, tingnan ko nga kung pwede ako. So I submitted and I passed. Kaya medyo may pressure din ako to perform kasi medyo sinagot nila yung 1,000 pesos. Utang na loob ko sa kanila. Pero, you learn a lot. Parang sobrang empowering siya sa ating mga teachers kung bakit ganito ang sitwasyon natin lahat. So, yun. Sorry, daldal ko.
Hindi, okay lang yun. Tatlo lang kasi tayo so it's okay. Sakto lang yan.
Yeah.
Si Miss Micah naman, what do you think about the video? Ay, nasabi mo na pala yata.
Yeah. But I think I could actually attest to that. Yung sinabi sa video na nakakapagbigay talaga ng somehow political power and a lot of parang benefits if you can speak English well. So, na-experience ko talaga yan throughout my life. Sobrang daming opportunities na nabigay sa akin just because I can speak English well. Tapos kahit na may mga times na I feel like I'm not the best person for that job or for that activity in school, just because I can bluff my way through it because I can speak English well.
Yeah, right.
Sa akin nabibigay yung trabaho. Of course, then, I didn't care. Because in my head, I deserved it. Because I spoke English. Like, alam mo yun, yun lang yung lagi mong strength. You can speak English well, but you get everything. Pero, yeah, now, I can definitely see how unfair that was. Kasi marami akong kaklase, marami akong katrabaho who would have done the job as well as I did or even better. Pero, nobody trusted them kasi lagi na lang na yung job, it has to be written in English. It has to be spoken in English. So, they were not given the same opportunity that I was. And I'm pretty sure this happens to a lot more people all around the world. Sa Pilipinas pa lang eh. I'm pretty sure this happens like forever hanggang sa magtrabaho ka talaga. Makukuha mo talaga yung benefits na yun. And it's not fair. So, I really think na tama yung sinabi mo, Ms. Rhea, na we should be empowered as teachers. And it's very important for us to know this information. Kasi tayo naman yung makapag-bring about ng change na yun in the classroom. Kasi I do not remember being in a classroom where they did not put a lot of importance to speaking English. Lahat ng classrooms that I was able to be part of, lagi na lang, mas matalino tingin sa'yo, mas valuable ang tingin sa'yo if you speak English well. Yeah, so it really affects the learner. So ako like, it's a running joke in my family kasi both my parents, I guess you could say, working class. Tapos, hindi sila nakapag-aral ng college. Hindi sila mahilig mag-English. Tapos, gina-joke nila ako sa bahay kasi wala akong alam masyado sa Filipino culture, wala ko masyadong alam sa mga ganong bagay. Tapos ang mga alam ko, kasi fascinated ako sa culture ng ibang bansa, especially of white people. So like, alam mo yun, if you're a kid, okay siya kasi feeling mo you're cool. Pero now, I'm kind of ashamed that I'm that way.
Correct.
Like, what really should I be proud of? I'm trying so hard to copy somebody else's culture. And I know very little about mine. Like, that's not something to be proud of. And like, so, yeah, I hope na children will understand this while they're still young. Na sana merong may adult, may teacher who could guide them and show them na you should be proud and you should actually use your language and you should learn more about your culture.
Right. Oo. Totoo yan. I also realized na I used to teach also college students business writing. So, parang as a teacher, meron kang syllabus. So you're expected to teach and they're expected to reach the standards that you have set for them. But I just realized, dun din sa course na to, sabi ni Sir Rowani, as teachers, ang job natin, kung hindi kaya ng estudyanteng i-reach yung standard na sinet mo, dapat ibaba mo. Para at least ito ma-reach nila. So, napaisip ako, parang nag-guilty tuloy ako kasi yun, I used to teach dito sa may malapit kasing STI dito sa amin. So, nag-part-time ako. And then, inis ako sa mga estudyante ko kasi I felt exercises na binibigay ko, ang dali-dali lang naman. Tapos, hindi sila makaperform. So ako, as a teacher, ang thinking ko is, hindi nyo kaya. Sige, bagsak na lang kayo. Wala akong magagawa. Hindi nyo kayang gawin eh. So,
ganun din ako mag-isa.
So, parang hindi ko na problema. Yan, dapat nakarating kayo ng college. Dapat ganito na yung alam nyo. Pero I realized, after listening to Sir Rowani na, anong ginawa mo sa teacher? You just left them as you found them. Parang ganun. Parang, paano mo sila natulungan? So, oo nga, no. Parang, wala akong na-contribute sa kanila kasi I just left them na ganun din. Hindi nyo kaya o di bahala kayo. Parang ganun yung thinking ko dati na I I'm here to teach. You're supposed to submit what I ask from you and pass all the exams. Kung hindi, sorry na lang. So, I realized na kung ganun lahat ng mindset natin, di ba paano yung mga tinuturoan natin, di ba? Ito yung mga sabi ni Sir Rowani, the voices that are silenced, na hindi na natin maririnig kasi masalo pa nating iniwan lang sa isang tabi. Kasi hindi mo nga sila pinagsalita eh. Siguro, iniisip ko nung kung nag-try kaya akong lumevel sa kanila. If I had tried to use some other ways on how to reach them, para maintindihan ko sa kanila kung where they're coming from. Baka sakaling mayroong konting progress na nangyari. Kasi I felt it was a missed opportunity. Na nasa na kayo yung mga bata na yun na I'm sure ngayon mga nagtatrabaho na rin sila. So, I just gave up na parang, sige, bahala kayo. Sayang yung pera nyo, nag-enroll kayo, hindi ginagawa. So, parang, yun, ang laking responsibility din sa atin na teachers na hindi lang i-enforce yung dapat natin ituro, yun nasa syllabus natin, nasa curriculum, pero yun nga, i-assess din kung bakit nagkakagano yung mga estudyante. Maybe lower our expectations. Parang assessment ulit to eh.
Mm-hmm.
Dapat noon pa lang sa mga quiz na binibigay ko, naisip ko na kung bakit hindi sila nakaka-perform doon sa writing na kasi I felt it was so simple na tuturo ko pa ba yan? Dapat tapos na yan eh. Pero hindi pala. So, ayun. Nakakalungkot na wala na akong magawa about that. Pero for my future students, hindi na lang yung titingnan ko. And I hope mas malaman pa nga na mas maraming teachers. Kasi, hindi porke bumabagsak, hayaan na lang natin. Lalo sa mga English classes nga. Kasi bakit ba hindi nagsasalita?
Mm-hmm.
Bakit ayaw mag-participate? So, pwede nga dahil may punto, galing sa Visayas, iba yung pronunciation, o talagang hindi siya privilege na maka-access ng materials in English na makakatulong sa kanya. Na, I'm just wondering, Micah, kasi you said your parents were working class. So, how did you acquire the facility in the language na ang ganda ng ng enunciation mo and also how did you become proficient? Kahit ganun yung yeah.
Sa extended family po. So, growing up, lumaki ako na yung family ng dad ko just in the next house. Tapos, yung family po kasi ng dad ko, lumaki po sila sa US base sa Olonga po. So, kaya lumaki po talaga sila na speaking English. Tapos, ang funny po dun is, dad ko po yung black sheep. Siya yung nag-iisa na hindi magaling mag-English.
Oh.
So, yun po. So,
akala ko yung tatay mo black.
Iba nangyari dun kung black ang daddy ko. So yun, kaya nakita ko, I guess, yung difference between the two houses. So like, dun sa house na pinanggalingan ng dad ko, nakita ko na they're so smart, they're such big readers, tapos hindi sila nanonood ng any Filipino shows or movies, only only foreign ones. So parang ako, oh my gosh, my parents are so uncool. And, so ano talaga, I can remember na ang laking part of my childhood which I spent dun sa bahay ng family ng dad ko because I looked up so much to them because I felt na they were so smart and so, what do you call this? So classy. Tapos yun. So like when I go back to the house, naasar sa akin yung mga magulang ko sa mga kalokohang inuuwi ko.
Hindi na kayo magkaintindihan.
Oo. So, ayun. Pero anong nangyari din kasi, I guess, hindi. May idea rin yung parents ko na, oh, they're a good influence for you. I guess medyo nade-down din nila yung sarili nila.
Yeah.
Na parang, oh, we didn't reach college and we could not speak English well. So I guess this is good for you. So nung nakita nila na ganun yung influence sa akin ng mga tita ko and tito, mas in-encourage pa nila, and then they bought me more books and more stuff from which I could learn English from. So ayun, talagang iba talaga yung culture na kinalakihan ko. Talagang English, 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 American, 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 or like basta people. Sobrang lala po ng white supremacy sa ano namin, sa family culture namin. And lumaki po ako na sobrang racist po. So awful
Grabe.
to say now.
Grabe naman yun.
Sobrang racist. Like, I'm just learning and like realizing all of these now. Sobrang racist po ng pamilya ko.
Oh, at least, diba, you're beginning to acknowledge. Oh, that's the first step.
Yeah, so I think na sobrang important po talaga, like even though yun yung kinalakihan ko na culture at home, maganda sana if I was guided outside of it in school or in society. Pero wala din eh, everybody agreed. So yeah, I think that's what our society is lacking. Teachers who could guide the students.
Okay. Mabalik ako ng konti ron sa mga libro na galing sa ibang bansa. Napansin ko when I was in the Philippines, yung mga books na English books na ginagamit, parang geared toward Western culture. Pero before we went here, parang nagkaroon ng shift kasi may mga sinama na lugar na sa Pilipinas lang available. Tapos nung nagtuturo ako ng mga Koreano, hinaluan na nila ng, meron kasing Konglish Korean English. Hinaluan na nila ng culture nila yung mga libro na English na pinagamit sa amin para sa mga tutorials. Tapos nung nandito kami, dito pa lang sa province na to, although I'm in the same province, kahit bumalik ako sa city, ang laki ng pinagkaiba. Doon sa city, yung mga books na nandun, it's geared toward sa mga Thai. May mga lugar dito na tinranslate nila sa English. Halimbawa sa atin, churches, Western culture churches. Dito, what? Temples. So yung mga references na churches, ginawa nilang temple. Tapos yung religion, ginagawa nilang Buddha. Pero dito sa area ko ngayon, napansin ko na dahil medyo mahirap lang yung buhay dito, yung mga books, English books are donated. So it was what it was before. It's geared toward Western learners. So meron pa ring snow and lunch boxes and ano pa ba yun? May mga Hanukkah, yung mga Jewish people. So ayun, kahit pa paano, it's still moving bit by bit. Nakakakita na rin ako ng mga libro na sobrang ganda ng English kasi si Dr. Parang yung kaninang speaker, yung talagang nag-aral sila ng super yung accent. Wala ngang accent Tapos yung pag sila nagsulat ng kung anong article, geared toward their culture na. Pero it's still English. So kahit pa paano, unti-unting chipping away that imperialism thing. Tapos doon sa video, i-share ko lang yung screen ko saglit lang before tayo magtapos. Ano nga ba yun? Yung kanina, tong video na to. Mahaba kasi masyado. It's 22 minutes.
Philipson ba? Talaga? Tama ba? Philipson?
Yes. It is Philipson.
Yeah.
So, na may natutunan akong word dun sa video niya yun. Hindi ko na tinapos. Bale, ano sa tingin nyo yung globish? Globish. Yes. Globish. Huwag nyo nang i-search. Ano yun muna natin? Pag-usapan muna natin. Kasi meron akong alam na word na globalism. Ayan, globalism. So it's more about business, commerce. Ayan, globalism. Pero itong globish, it's parang siyang globalism pero naman sa language. So what do you think this is? Akala ko dati parang ano ba to? Isda ba to? Na ano? Yes. No, seriously. Akala ko talaga isang klase ng isda. So globish. Make a wild guess.
Ang ibig pa niyang sabihin ay,
English?
oo, na parang pinupush nila na English ang maging global language.
It's the opposite.
Okay.
Okay, so what is it? Okay, nasan na ba yun? Medyo natabunan eh. Bali, it's papahiya ako, saglit lang.
It's okay,
No
sir.
problem.
Global meaning. Okay, ito. Ito ang kanyang meaning. So, a simplified version of English used by non-native speakers consisting of the most common words and phrases only. So, this is a good thing, because napansin ko whenever okay, what is that?
Sorry. Gabby. Sorry.
So whenever I talk to somebody here na dito kasi meron ding mga native English speakers, may mga Canadian, whatever. Meron din mga katutubo na nakapag-aral at meron din yung parang Pinoy din, normal, nakakaintindi pero pag nagsalita sila hindi mo magets, hindi mo maintindihan. So sabi dun sa video kanina na maganda raw yung globish. It is a term na ginamit to call two people na non-native speaker na they communicate better than native English speakers with each other. Kasi non-native speakers, we use simple words. Yes, very simple. Unlike yung mga Kano at British, meron silang nuances, differences in their use of the language. Kaya pag sila yung nag-usap, labo-labo sila. 'Di ba? Sa British English, halimbawa, would you like a spotted dick? So, pagka Amerikano parang, what? Parang bastos mo naman. Spotted dick. Yung pala, pagkain yun. Longganisa pala yun. So, yes. So, if a non-native speaker and another non-native speaker, they can communicate a lot better. So, medyo mahaba yung video. So, maybe we can talk about it some other time. Ano ba yung susunod natin? Monday?
Yes, Monday.
Are we good on Monday or Tuesday? Kasi I don't know eh. Hindi ko alam kung ilan tayo. So it's still under what is it? Imperialism. Is it under imperialism? It's still under Unit 3. Okay, Unit 3. Still, ang dami palang topic nito. So nakita ko rito yung World Englishes under Module 8. Ayan, yung pinag-aralan ni Miss Ria na sana sumama ako, kaya lang
So sorry.
no need to apologize.
Hindi ko naisip na mag-invite. Oo nga, maganda for everybody. Swak na
Yeah.
swak sa atin, yeah.
Ayun. Yung sabi mo kanina na hindi naman sa tinatakot mo kami baka sa exam, hindi mo kami matatakot. Takot na kami. So, yeah. So, seriously. So,
Actually, ako nagulat kasi hindi ako takot eh. I was expecting it to be, essay yan, kayang-kaya na yung mag-explain. Kasi I think I got the basic grasp of the theories. Pero tanungin ka ba naman ng sobrang basic na i-define mo?
whoa. How many questions were there? Like 5?
There were 4 parts to the test. But each part was really long.
Oh my God.
Parang choose from among these, tapos define, explain, implication. Kaya pa oh my gosh, paano ko gagawin to?
Kaya pala mahaba.
Di pa naman ako mabilis mag-type. Point ako, kaya...
Ganito ka mag-type, ganito.
Hindi ko kabisado yung keyboard. Correct. So, going in, parang medyo, disadvantage na kaagad ako. Pero, wala eh. Kailangan.
Ayun.
Ako Miss Ria, ganito mag-type.
Naku, mag-practice ka na. Talagang even spelling check, they disabled. Kasi gusto ko sana spelling check na lang. Parang hindi ko na mag-spend ng time para mag-insert ka lang ng letter. Pero naka-disable siya. Nakakainis.
What?
Disable nila. Wala ka talagang pwedeng, gawin.
Bawal gumamit ng Grammarly.
Wala talaga. Even yung magsusulat ako ng notes kasi hindi ko kayang straight na ita-type ko na lang. Pero sabi nung proctor, hindi ka rin dapat may dalang mga writing materials kasi baka cheating, no? So, paano sabi ko, baka po pwede naman kasi hindi ko ma-organize yung thoughts ko. Na-diretso ka agad doon kasi mag-erase ako lagi pag Pero yun nga, kasi naka-camera ka rin sa front saka sa back. So, wala ka talagang lusot. Wala kang lusot. Hindi ka pwede mag-Google pag yung mga sabi ko, pwede nang masilip, pero wala. Wala talaga. Ay, oh my gosh. Kaya tuloy niyo yung review. Ako, kasama ako hanggat kaya ko kasi magandang ma-review pa rin para going in sa masters kung makakalusot naman. Kaya kahit kayong dalawa lang, I hope lahat naman kami, lahat tayo. Yeah.
Kailan niyo po expected lumabas yung results?
Yeah, I asked the proctor, wala daw siyang idea. Typical. And
As per
I
you.
emailed. Yeah. Parang I emailed Ma'am Marshall. Tapos she sent general email to everybody. Parang expected before the registration date. O, di ba?
Natural.
So, when will that be?
The day before.
Okay. Oo, baka ganun ulit na Kaya, okay, sige, mag-aantay na lang. Prolonging the agony. Ano ba naman? Ang bilis na naman. Yeah.
Na-curious tuloy ako. Sabi before the next registration. Di ba meron pa bang November? Mag-e-exam sa November?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ayun.
So, how do we go about it if malapit na yung registration? Na ano ko lang.
I think, ma-admit kayo by next year na? Start, tama?
So, November exam,
Probably.
January yung
Oo, parang ganon. Oo. Pero magkakaano pa rin tayo niyan sa mga subjects siguro.
Yeah, probably.
Pero I heard parang 3 na lang ang subjects.
Yeah, 3 na lang na mahaba.
3 na lang, no?
I have seen it.
Practicum, research, I don't know, elective yata yung isa, tama ba?
Bali, FYI lang, si Mrs. Nag-graduate siya last year. Sa batch nila, ni isa wala pang nag-exam.
Wow. Hindi pa rin sila nag-take.
To the best of my knowledge, she's here right now and sabi niya wala siyang kabatch na may mga kabatch before mga 2018 yan. May mga na-exam na kasi wala pang pandemic. Pero 2019, mag-exam sila 2020 wala. So, medyo parang I don't know. Mga kasi yun. Ilan ba yung nag-graduate sa batch ninyo? 100 plus. Ni isa.
Wow. Ang dami.
Okay. So, 100 plus tapos walang nag-exam. Parang yata. Siguro meron, hindi lang namin alam.
Oo, baka.
Oo. Okay. Anyway, it's very sad but I hope na nagko-continue sila kasi may mga nababalitaan ako. May sumasama ako sa isang Filipino Science Hub. It's a Facebook page na nagbibigay ng libreng webinar. And napansin ko lang puro taga-UP. So, yung chemistry, biology, yung mga nila, STEM teaching. So, napapansin ko lang na ganun. Parang maganda sigurong ituloy ito para tayo naman ng speaker sa halip na teacher.
Oo. Kasi syempre marinig pa lang na UP ka, iba na kaagad, 'di ba? Ang dating mo. Tsaka if not now, kailan pa? I don't think kaya ko pang in 5 years time. Medyo tanda na nun. Kaya tuloy na to.
Tuloy ito.
Tuloy
Kaya
daw,
ako,
yes.
dati sinabi ko na if ever na magtutuloy sa UP or magtutuloy sa ibang school, kasi nga sa UP medyo matagal. Sa ibang school mabilis pero sobrang mahal. So yun ang pinagkaiba. So ayun.
At least ito very affordable, no?
Affordable pero syempre you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Quality
True.
education but very slow customer service. So
Yeah.
it's a balance.
Oo. Saka learn at your own pace at learn on your own pa. Wala ka talagang wala kang contact with your teachers except for the very few like si Ma'am Teacher Grace.
Yes.
Lang yata yung asynchronous, 'di ba? Nag-offer siya dati ng ilang sessions din.
Sayang nga hindi ako naka-join pero mas nagustuhan ko yung ganito na ibibigay lahat yung resources and then you have your guide questions so that you can focus your studies. Kasi sa iba, you just pay and then every weekend attend ka ng ganito na Zoom. So parang hindi mo ma-maximize yung time mo. Although this is good, merong interaction, pero kasi yung yung iba pala, meron silang hybrid, asynchronous learning tapos may ganito na exchanges. So yeah,
I'd prefer that, yung hybrid. Para may konting discussion na ganito. Ito yung nami-miss ko sa classroom, yung exchange of ideas. So
because pag ako ay merong Google Meet sa mga student, hindi naman sa inaano mo yung iba, pero those who are in higher sections, yun yung nakikipag-interact sa'yo. Mga 2/1, 2/2, and 3. Pag lumampas na sa 5, ayun na. Kahit anong tanong mo, how are you? Good morning, say hi. Wala. Pati kausap ko yung sarili ko.
Pare-parehas pala sa lahat ng lahat ng panig ng mundo. Ganyan din dito sa Pinas, yung mga students ng asawa ko, wala rin siya naririnig. Mag-isa siya nagsasalita the whole time. No feedback.
So, yung nakinig yung boss namin, napansin niya na gano'n. So, sabi, tawagin yung mga pangalan. Pag hindi sumagot, absent yon. So, yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah. Kasi,
Tinakot.
well, I actually put absent at saka nakashare yung screen ko. Nakikita nila, if I delete their picture, absent na sila nun. Kasi yung iba, isisindi yung cellphone, iiwanan doon. So, halata. Kasi maririnig mo may naglalakad or may nag-ano ng pinggan ko, okay, hindi nakikinig to. Ayun. So, bali on Monday, we will discuss yung kaninang video na 22 minutes. Dalawa yung ano ba yan? May naklik ako. Al Jazeera. Dalawa yung speakers. Isa yung sinasabi ni Miss Ria and the other one is a journalist that travels the world. Ito si Robert McCrum. So isa siya sa mga authors na nagsulat ng librong Globish. So for sa point of view ng language, maganda yung Globish kasi nagkakaroon ng that's the point of language, di ba? Yung interaction, yung pagkakaintindihan. So instead na yung isa na yung puti lang yung nagsasalita, at least with Globish you actually do have interaction, nakakaintindihan pa. So ayun. So medyo nakakapanibago, 3 lang tayo. Nasanay ako ng 4 or 6 or whatever. Ayun.
Masaya pag marami.
Kaya nga. So
Monday?
Paano ba yun?
Monday, Tuesday?
Monday or Tuesday. I like Monday kasi pag Tuesday marami akong klase. So Monday na lang. So
yeah, Monday din po ako. Okay.
Ayun. Bali, ano pa ba yung sasabihin ko? Meron silang sa nakakatanggap ako ng messages sa UPOU. Parang ano ba tawag doon? Parang send in your papers. Do you guys receive that? Parang they will publish the book if you have something and then titignan nila if it is a well-written article or something.
About?
Yun ang problema ko. It was 2 weeks ago, so I don't remember. But yeah, it's in my email somewhere. I don't know if you guys see it, but they are calling for papers. Yeah, that's it. Calling for papers.
Yung
So,
mga papers ba natin, pwede natin i-submit yan sa mga journals, yung mga nasulat natin from before?
I have no idea, honestly. Kasi pag nakikita ko siya, nalulungkot ako kasi if I do that, I won't be able to do this, my current classes. So, ayun. I'm just telling you guys kasi baka gusto nyo mag-submit. Kasi may mga nakikita ako eh. Yeah.
Kasi ano yan, lalo if you're teaching in, at least here in the Philippines, at points yan eh, kapag meron kang published paper.
Yun.
Oo,
That's it.
diba?
Yes.
Oo, pwede mo ilagay yan sa ano mo eh, sa LinkedIn profile, mga researchers published, ganyan. Kaya I'm thinking, pwede kaya yung mga papers natin na mga ginawa natin noon, di ba? Matry yan. Baka sakali. Sayang naman.
Yung nakita ko ritong university sa Thailand, naghahanap sila just 2 weeks ago. Gusto nila ng published author bilang lecturer nila sa school nila, and they're offering between 40 to 60,000 baht. So it's a substantial jump from the current salary. The current
Magsabit ka
thing.
na. Sabit mo na yung mga papers natin, yung mga pinaghirapan natin na papers.
Wala pang MA eh. So, yun ang unang requirement nila, MA. Non-native speaker, but with MA. So, we will get there. Konti na lang.
So, ano ba yung time frame bago tayo matapos? Will this be 1 year, 2 years pa?
I think more than 1 year.
Yeah, parang 1.5 years. Tapos, I guess yung thesis, depende sa'yo.
Yun ang hindi ko maisip eh, kung paano ko gagawin yung thesis.
I know.
Sana nga wala ng pandemic by that time. Yeah, go ahead.
Yung mga friends ko na nakapag MA na, like, kahit anong MA pa yon, lagi nilang sinasabi na huwag ka nang magtrabaho kapag kailangan mo na magsulat ng research, ng thesis, kasi it really requires a lot of your time. Well, ewan ko, siguro sila kaya nila financially na hindi magtrabaho.
I can't imagine it.
Yeah, so...
ano diba? You have to spend para dun sa mga... Yung mga, statistician ba tawag doon? Yung mag-validate ng ano mo?
Yes.
Yung study mo? Mahal daw bayad. So, I don't know. Bahala na. Wala pang non-thesis track.
Yun nga po, tinanggal nila eh. Before, meron kasing non-thesis track. Like, I think right before ako nag-apply nung 2018, meron pang non-thesis track. Tapos nung nag-apply ako, wala na. So, sayang.
Hindi ko alam kung alam nyo, no? Pero merong parang circular about itong DLLE na pinirmahan several years ago. Pakita ko daw. It's a Department of Education memorandum. I'm sure you have seen it before.
Parang MA na rin siya.
Yes, exactly. Yes, ito yun.
Is this official? Ako na rin yan eh. Hindi lang ako makapaniwala na...
Yeah.
Di ba to
It's August 15, 2005. 2005.
Oh. Does that still stand until now?
I have no idea.
Because I would love it.
Attach na lang sa resume. Attach na lang sa resume.
Sana nga ganun eh. Kaya lang, kasi, tinatanong nila sa ibang school, ano yung natapos mo maliban sa course mo? Di sinasabi ko to. Ano yan? Ang DLLE, Diploma in Language and Literacy Education. So, hindi siya MA. Ganun kagad yung sa akin. So, hindi siya MA. Ako eh. Nang sila eh. So, ayun nga.
Kahit pang tapusin mo, basta wala kang MA, hindi ka nila, even here, gusto ko rin sana mag-college para less work. Pero yun ang first question nila, kung tapos na raw ba. Kahit sang school ka pa mag-graduate kung wala kang master's.
Maybe that's the reason why yung iba, basta makakuha lang ng MA, basta may salitang MA na related sa English, sinusugod nila. Kahit mahal. Seriously, 30,000 per semester. Mas mahal pa sa sweldo ng teacher. So, nakakaiyak.
Oo,
Anyway.
iba, nagbabayad na lang. Tapos, oo,
Yeah.
marami actually. Anyway.
So, guys, Monday ulit. That video, paigsiin ko na lang siguro kasi masyadong mahaba. It's a video from Al Jazeera, yung madalas nakakaaway ng mga kano. So, Al Jazeera News Network. So anyway, sana marami tayo natutunan ngayon.
Yeah.
Stop ko na yung recording. Okay na.